Hello and welcome to the Big D Podcast. I am your host, contributor at fansided.com, and more specifically, contributor at Nolan Wrighton, the Fansided Texas Rangers page. Chris Halicke. That is my name, and I don't have any other special tricks or anything. I just like to come on here and talk about sports. And I am so stoked. Last week's episode was awesome. I really want to thank Nick Nepic for coming on again. It was awesome having him on. We talked about the Mavericks draft. We talked about Mavericks free agency. And at the end of last episode, I said we're going to talk about Texas Rangers the next time out. That's exactly what we're going to do this time around. I've been wanting to talk about the Rangers for a while. Mavericks free agency has just been absolutely crazy. I needed to get on that, and I will have more on that at the end of the episode. But for tonight, and this will actually be your Tuesday morning or Tuesday, because I'm recording this late Monday night, we're going to be talking about the Texas Rangers, and they are very worthy of being talked about right now. NBA free agency is coming up. It's less than a week away. The NBA awards are going on Monday night. Luka Doncic just wrapped up Rookie of the Year. It's insane. But the Texas Rangers have exceeded everybody's expectations, and that's what I want to start off with here in this episode. I'm very, very happy. I'm over the moon at how good the Rangers have been this year. Yes, they're 6 games over 500, and we're wanting to talk about how the Rangers are potentially a playoff team. And as of right now, they are. They were holding on to the second wild card for a while, and they're still kind of in the mix. They're off on Monday. Like I said, I'm recording this Monday night, so they were off today. No games. And currently looking at the standings, the Texas Rangers are still a half game back. I don't know if Cleveland played Monday or not. They are actually playing as I speak right now. They are tied 1-1 with the Kansas City Royals in the bottom of the 6th. So the Rangers will either be tied for the second wild card or they'll be a game back, depending on what happens here in this game. And obviously, by the time everybody's listening to this on Tuesday, we'll have already known. But either way, they are very much in the mix for the playoffs right now, and we're 2 weeks away from the All-Star break. Needless to say, and I think a lot of people started talking about this in June, at the very, very beginning of June, that the Rangers should already be kind of out of it. Like, even if they weren't like really, really bad, like they were 10 or 15 or God forbid, like 20 games already under 500, that would be all right. Well, let's punt on the rest of the season. Let's sell Mike Minor. Let's sell possibly sell Rougned Odor, even though his value has never been lower. Just completely punt on the season, get whatever assets you can, go into free agency this upcoming offseason, and see what you could possibly get to put a competitive team on the field in 2020 in the first stadium in Globe Life Field. And here we are. It is June 24th, June 25th, and the Rangers are 6 games over 500. They are right in the playoff mix. They've played really well in this recent stretch. They split in Boston. They split Cleveland at home. They've taken care of the bad teams, and that's really what they've needed to do. They've either split or won each of their last 8 series, and that's huge because the Rangers are competitive against the good teams, and they're beating the teams that they should be beating if they are a playoff type team. And that's what good baseball teams do. That's what good teams do in general, but that's really what good baseball teams do, is they take care of business against the teams they should be taking care of business. They had a kind of a hiccup on Friday night, but they still were in position to win Friday night. They didn't in the end, but then they, took the next 2. So, they took 2 out of 3 from, a Chicago White Sox team. They are coming up. They're going to be playing Detroit, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They need to be taking at least 2 out of 3. They need to be winning those series On the road, you'll take 2 out of 3, but if you're playing Detroit at home, you should be sweeping them, and even a sweep on the road against a team like Detroit, you should, it'd be nice if you did it, especially since you've got Tampa Bay, looming this upcoming weekend. And, Tampa Bay's been very, very good. They've been holding on to that first wild card spot, or even been trading blows with the Yankees about getting at the top of the AL East. But the Rangers deserve our praise. Absolutely. They have been more than worthy of getting talked about. Chris Woodward has done an amazing job this season. He has got this team really believing in the process, and he talked a lot about that in the offseason after he was hired and he was being interviewed on, in different media outlets and everything. He kept talking about doing things the right way. He talked about doing things, so that you are committing to the process of doing something, even if the results don't always show it. And for certain players, it's showing. Joey Gallo, it's showing. The dude is having an amazing season. He should be a absolutely no doubt all-star. And before his oblique injury, in my opinion, was definitely in the MVP discussion. The dude is putting up massive numbers. He is, you talk about, for the old school, I'm more of an old school guy when it comes to stats, so I like things like batting average. I also like, OPS and, a lot of the, what's considered the newer stats. Either way, it doesn't matter how you look at it. Joey Gallo has been an MVP-like player. Not saying he's the MVP of the league. Obviously, Cody Bellinger is just absolutely mashing the ball. Josh Bell for the Pirates was looking like he was going to be, competing with Bellinger to be MVP for a while. He's kind of fallen off a little bit, but he's still, way up there and should be the starting first baseman in the National League. You have different players in the league who are just absolutely, mashing right now and establishing themselves as, legit MVP candidates. And Joey Gallo, in my opinion, before his injury, was really right up there with everybody else. He was still hitting the ball, a mile every time he'd hit a home run, but he was also getting, more base hits. He's getting good walks. And you look at some of the things that they've been showing whenever he'd be batting. He's not chasing bad pitches anymore. He's not chasing the high pitches that every pitcher in the league was getting him to chase. He's just not doing it anymore. Chris Woodward has put it into his players' minds, in certain counts. Look for your pitch. Even if that means you have to take a strike. You need to hit your pitch. You need to play to your strengths and make the pitcher pitch to you and not just take what you're given. And I think that Joey Gallo has done that so well. Other players that you would have hoped that it would be reaping more production, guys like Rougned, it's so hard to watch. And I'll get into Rougned here in a little bit. But I really wanted to start off by giving this team the praise that they deserve. They're 42-36. Currently they're, after this series with Detroit, they will be right at the halfway mark of the season. They'll play the 81 games. It would be really nice if they are, 8 games over 500 at that point, or even 9 games over if they sweep. It'd be really, really nice. It's so refreshing to watch Rangers baseball this way again. Watching this younger core of players do so well, even whenever the production's not always there. Like Nomar Mazara has been really good this year. It's not always shown. It's not always been flashy. This past weekend it was. Nomar Mazara looked like if you took that one little sample size of what Nomar Mazara did this weekend, he is like a generational type player. That dude was absolutely crushing the ball this past weekend against the White Sox. The 505-foot home run that he hit. Oh my gosh. Is it fitting that in the last season of Globe Life Park that the home run record is without a shadow of a doubt broken? It would be nice to think, possibly Josh Hamilton or Nomar Mazara, those 490 or 491 feet home runs. But 505 feet, the first ever 500-foot home run in Globe Life Park. When I saw that ball, where it landed, and the fact that it went up the standings, it went up the stands in the upper home run porch. It was mind blowing. It was awesome. So I really wanted to get into, after really giving this team the much love that they deserve, I really wanted to get into what the Rangers should be doing now that they are here, now that they are competing for the playoffs, this close to the All-Star break. What do the Rangers do from here? Do the Rangers continue to try to compete and possibly add pieces at the trade deadline? Or do they sell while the value has never been higher on guys like Mike Minor? I mean, Mike Minor will be an All-Star. That's not even a question. Joey Gallo is at the mercy of the fan voting, but pitchers don't get voted for by the fans. They're completely picked, and Mike Minor has been one of the best pitchers in the American League. It's not even a question. So Mike Minor will for sure be an all-star. I'm stamping my name on that right now. I make some predictions sometimes that go absolutely crazy, like my Mavericks prediction from last week's episode for free agency. But I will gladly put my reputation on the fact that Mike Minor will be an all-star. And I mean, like I said, saying before, his value's never been higher. So what do you do? Do you sell and get some really significant pieces to, continue to build the farm system up from all the trades that happened several years ago where you depleted the farm system and now you've got to build it back up? Or do you continue to ride Mike Minor for this season? Even if you make the playoffs, probably not do too much damage. Like, you might get past the wild card game, but do you get past the division series if you have to play, a Houston or a New York or even Minnesota with the way they're playing? Do you really ideally get, does it really make a lot of sense to go for it this year when you don't have consistency at pitching? For at the beginning of the month, they were getting consistency. 4 of the 5 spots in the rotation were getting quality starts. I mean, you had Mike Minor, Lance Lynn, Adrian Sampson, and Ariel Gerardo just absolutely dealing. And Sampson had a couple of rough outings before this last outing he had on Sunday, which he was just absolutely brilliant. But the 2 starts before that, he's been not so good. Ariel Gerardo still not been... He hasn't been as bad as Sampson was, but Gerardo has still not been like, oh my gosh, like this dude's, for sure in the rotation, for sure middle of the rotation type of guy. They're still finding out on guys like Gerardo and Sampson. And the better they pitch, that just gives the Rangers more options, and that's great. That's what they need. The Rangers need more options, especially at pitching, because you can never have enough pitching. You can never have enough pitching, and they need all the pitching they can get. Especially since Shelby Miller didn't work out. He's back he's been in the bullpen for a while, and his ERA is still almost, it's closer to 10 than it's closer to 4. Drew Smyly, getting designated for assignment, he didn't even make it to the All-Star break. He didn't even make it till the end of June. He didn't even make it to halfway through the season, and they kind of brought him on as, we're not going to be holding on to Cole Hamels. So, we need to add starting pitching, so let's try to get Drew Smyly back in that kind of a trade package there. And so that's what they got, and it just never worked out. Ensign Volquez, he did he even make it out of March? I think he did, but he probably won't pitch again. That's 3 of the 5 guys that they had planned for the rotation this year. That, we get to not even to the halfway point of the season, and those guys are gone. So, what do you do? Do you just kind of punt on the rest of the season and hope that these guys can still compete? Or do you really try? Do you try to add pieces? Is it worth it? Is it worth it to try to sell some more prospects so you can bring in some help when you really don't have a legitimate shot at the World Series this year? Let's just face it. As good as the Rangers have been so far this year, the Rangers are not a World Series contender. As much as I'd love to see the World Series, come to Arlington again. It was awesome when it was here 2 years in a row. Every Rangers fan wants that again, and if anything, it spoiled Rangers fans whenever it happened, because ever since then, and because we were so close in 2011, like anything that we do that falls short of a World Series is considered a failure, and that's not fair. I mean, John Daniels has done an amazing job putting this team together. He took some risks, and they didn't pay off, and everybody wants to crucify him for it, and whenever he was, making moves that made the 2010 and 2011 teams better, everybody was praising him for it. When he traded for Jonathan Lucroy, even though he had to pay a hefty price for it, everybody wanted Lucroy to come here. Everybody did. So, what's the deal? Why are you hating on John Daniels for making the move that everybody wanted them to make? You can't hate on the guy for making a move that the fans wanted him to make. It didn't pan out. He wasn't the player that you expected him to be. It happens like that sometimes. Whether it be a chemistry fit, whether it be just a player just happens to fall off, just different circumstances happen. Cole Hamels, when he first came here, he was really good. Near the end of the time here in Texas, he started to fall off. He wasn't the productive pitcher that the Rangers needed him to be, and so the Rangers sold him. And then he goes to Chicago, and he starts turning into, playoff MVP Cole Hamels again. It just works out like that sometimes. You have to deal with it. You have to take your lumps and move on. The Rangers are in a position, or they're in a tough spot right now, and there's fans, going for you need to go ahead and buy. You need to buy. You need to compete, and then you have fans saying no, you got to sell. You'll never get more from Mike Minor. I've even still heard some people say that you should trade Joey Gallo because his value's never been higher. And, regardless of what your opinion is as a fan, you have to think realistically. Okay, what are the Rangers going to do for sure? We still don't know about Mike Minor. I mean, he's got another year on his deal, and it's a very team-friendly deal, especially for the type of pitching that he's giving the Rangers right now. I mean, that contract... I mean, it is one of the biggest steals of Major League Baseball right now. He's a potential Cy Young candidate, and he's not even making $15 million. It's crazy. So what do the Rangers do? What are the Rangers going to do for sure? They're not trading Joey Gallo. Let's just put that to bed right now. I got a buddy of mine who, we've had debates about this. He's always been a pro trade Joey Gallo kind of guy. And at the beginning of this year, I'm trying to not gloat. And if you're listening to this, you're kind of giving a little chuckle like, you better not be gloating. I'm trying not to gloat, but Joey Gallo's having a breakout season where he's turning into a for sure all-star player. And, and like I said, in my opinion, was making himself a potential MVP candidate. I'm not saying he was going to win MVP, but should definitely be in the discussion. And, and he's right. His value's never been higher. But the Rangers are not trading Joey Gallo. They've put too much time and effort into him. He is finally starting to put it together and become more than just a home run threat. He's walking. He's getting base hits. He's getting productive outs. And yes, he's still hitting home runs. I mean, Joey Gallo is not going anywhere. Nomar Mazara is not going anywhere. Nor should he. Elvis Andrus is not going anywhere. You can talk about all the guys that, you could possibly, see as trade pieces. These guys aren't going anywhere. They're going to keep this offensive core together. And the only player that you would ever want to talk about trading right now, and his value's never been lower, is Rougned Odor. The Rangers have only a couple of pieces that they could sell offensively. And if they were to sell even one of them, it really takes a massive hit to the core. So offensively, they're not getting rid of anything. And if they do get rid of anything, it's going to be a veteran, a Hunter Pence, a Shin-Soo Choo, and that's if the Rangers fall off. And even then, I don't think the Rangers want to part ways with Choo. Because of his contract, they have no way of completely getting rid of it. They would have to eat some of it. And they don't want to eat any of that contract. If they're going to be paying any of Shin-Soo Choo's contract, they want him dressing in red, white, and blue for the Rangers. They don't want to be paying, $4, $5, $7, $8 million of his contract for him to be wearing pinstripes. Or for him to be, going to, the AL Central and playing for the Twins. Or whoever, would take on his services. More than likely an American League team because, of the ability to, put him at designated hitter. And you definitely don't want him in Houston. We've been down that road with players that have played for the Rangers and go to Houston and absolutely kill. Offensively, the Rangers aren't getting rid of anything. At the beginning of the season, you had two assets in terms of pitching. You had Mike Minor, who had a decent season last year, and then you had Jose Leclerc, who, going into the season, would have gotten the Rangers quite a bit in terms of a haul. And now that value has gone down. Now, he's still on a team-friendly deal. He's still young. They can still get a lot for him. Maybe. Because people have seen what he's capable of. But I don't think that they would ever get what they would want for him if they were to try to sell him. So I don't think that's going to happen either. Mike Minor is pretty much the only piece that they can sell. And yes, they would get a lot for him right now. So is it worth it to sell one player at a position that you have the biggest need? No. I do not sell Mike Minor this year. The only way I do is if the Rangers absolutely start sucking. And I mean sucking. Where it gets to the point where playoffs are out of the question. We get to the All-Star break, and if the Rangers have lost, I don't know how many games are left to the All-Star break, but let's just say they've lost, 10 out of 12, 10 out of 15, 13. If they've lost a lot of their games and they've distanced themselves in a bad way from the wild card spots, okay, I can start entertaining the idea of selling Mike Minor. But as long as the Rangers are competitive, I'm not selling Mike Minor. No way. I still have another year of control over him. I'm going to be able to loosen the purse strings a little bit this offseason and could potentially add a starter or two. I'm keeping Mike Minor, and I'm going to take my chances in 2020. Because in 2020, I'm projecting that Joey Gallo will be even better. I'm projecting that Nomar Mazara will be better. I'm projecting that Ronald Guzman will be better. I'm projecting that Delino DeShields will be better. There's a lot of upside for 2020 if they can add the right kind of pieces in free agency. And yes, you'll still have Shin-Soo Choo in the final year of his contract. The Rangers need to hold on to Minor as long as they see themselves as potential competitors to at least compete for the playoffs this season. And some people will be like, well, why do you kind of want to, be kind of mediocre? Because if you don't make it, then, what do you gain from it? You didn't get any pieces and you didn't do anything. You didn't make the playoffs. Well, the fact of the matter is that tanking in baseball makes almost no sense unless you are in a full-blown rebuild. You can't do this half foot, 1 foot in the water and 1 foot on land type thing when it comes to baseball. Other sports you can tank. Football, you can tank. Hockey, you can tank. Basketball, you can tank. I don't believe in tanking in baseball. Unless you're in a full-blown rebuild, which the Rangers are not in. They are in the middle of a rebuild right now, which is being accelerated by some really good play from some of the younger players like Joey Gallo. And Nomar Mazara if he continues to do anything like he did against the White Sox. The Rangers have options. And they don't have to sell Mike Minor. And after this quick break, I'm going to get into what the Rangers need to do with Rougned Odor. All right. Rougned Odor. I remember being at a game in 2015. I was actually down on vacation in Crystal Beach, which is across the bay from Galveston, for anybody who doesn't know that area of Texas. And we got tickets to the Rangers were in Houston that weekend, and we got tickets to one of the games. And it was the game. It was an '80s throwback night, and it was the game where Rougned Odor kind of got into it with their catcher. If anybody remembers, he kind of took a really long time getting into the box, and some words were exchanged, and the benches ended up clearing. And then that same at bat, after everything had peace had been administered and everything, and Rougned Odor comes back up to the plate, and he mashes one to center field when Taos Hill was still out there, and he almost gets an inside the park home run, but he got a for sure stand up triple, and it was really, really awesome. And I remember a fan who was sitting, I think about 2 or 3 rows in front of us. He was a Rangers fan, and he said that kid's going to have a bright future. And then like that year, the rest of 2015 and 2016, it was like, I always remember that fan. I was like, man, that guy, he saw it coming. And then 2017 happened. And then 2018 happened. It's been rough. Especially now in 2019. Rougned Odor has not sniffed north of 200. I don't even want to know the last. I can't even. I'd have to look it up and see when the last time he was even above 200. He's an enigma. It's like, what do you do? He now has enough service time where you can try to send him down, but he can reject it. And I can't think of a player that's going to willingly go to AAA who has that much service time. Especially, if AAA were close to home, I could maybe understand. Like if Frisco was their AAA team instead of their AA team, I could feasibly see it, because it's not like he'd be going that far away. He could still be at his home with his family. He's not going to Nashville. There's no way. I wouldn't do it. Even if the manager sat me down and said, listen, you know what? I really think that this is going to benefit you. I really think you need to build some confidence down there. And I'd be like, yes, I agree to that. I'm not leaving my family. And I'm not taking my family with me. So I'm not going. If I have the ability to not go, I'm not going to go. I don't blame Rugi for that. But so what do you do? Do you put him on the bench? Because Danny Santana has been fantastic for the Rangers and has definitely earned playing time. So what do? You've got money invested in this guy. If you sit him on the bench, you only kill his confidence even more. If you continue to play him, he'll continue to hurt the lineup. It is the ultimate catch-22. And for me, I'm all about rewarding the guys who are producing. For me, if Rougned Odor wants to get better, he's going to have to learn how to do it in some spot starts. For me, I'm giving the starting spot at second base to Danny Santana for the time being. He plays more than he plays. His defense is not a problem, and he's been hitting the ball insanely well this year. Been one of the better hitters for the Rangers for sure. I'm getting that guy in the lineup, especially if I'm committing to trying to compete for the playoffs in 2019. If that is my position, if I'm John Daniels and I'm saying we are going for the playoffs in 2019, Danny Santana has to be in my lineup more than Rougned Odor. That's just the way it is. That's the way I feel about it, and it's not going to change. And the only way it will change is when Rugi does get his opportunities, whether it be pinch hit situations, whether it be when Danny Santana needs a day off, or, somebody else in the outfield, Hunter Pence needs a day off, or Joey Gallo needs a day off, Delano DeShields needs a day off, then Santana can go out in the outfield and I can plug Rugi in a second. But he's got to start making better opportunities of his at-bats. It gets to a point, and even Chris Woodward said, you can do things the right way. But what Woodward said a few weeks ago, whenever he was saying that he's got to be willing to let go, and he's got to be willing to change some things, that really spoke words. That really spoke to me, as if this guy believes that he can do what he did in 2015 and 2016 by doing it the same way here in 2019. And the fact of the matter is that you can't. Pitchers have figured out how to pitch to you. They figured it out. You've got to make adjustments. Joey Gallo made adjustments. He's not swinging the same way that he swung 2 years ago. He's not swinging the same way he swung in 2018. Joey Gallo made adjustments, and he's going to be an all-star. Rougned Odor only makes a couple of adjustments, but still holds on to the things that made him successful early on, and thinks that it will continue, eventually it'll work. And it's not working. You got to change something. Continuing to do the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results. What do people call that? I don't necessarily agree with that with that definition, but I mean, come on. You got to make adjustments. But for the time being, if I'm committing, like I said before, you can't have one foot in the water. You're either all in or you're not. And that doesn't mean sell the farm. That doesn't mean that you need to sell all your good prospects and hope for, prominence and getting to the playoffs this year, because you're not going to, even if you make it to the playoffs, like I said, you're not a legitimate World Series contender. It's just not going to happen. So still trying to make the playoffs. Having a winning attitude is really, really good for these players to have, especially the younger guys. They need this opportunity to try to compete. They need to be able to be in that September, run to the playoffs. They need to be able to be playing meaningful games in, mid to late September and possibly getting into October. That's huge for younger players. They'll feed off of that experience and make this team in 2020 even more dangerous than they already could be already, especially if they hold on to Mike Minor and can add a couple pieces in free agency. It's crazy. This team is so. It really is a really, really unique situation, and I think that they can make a push for the playoffs. I think they are good enough. If they continue, and they've been maintaining since Joey Gallo went out with his injury. They've been able to maintain. And that's huge, because you get Joey Gallo back and Nomar Mazara, the way he's hitting the ball right now, and Delino DeShields, the way he's hitting the ball. By the way, Delino DeShields, quick word on him. That dude has been fantastic since he came up when Joey Gallo went on the IL. I pulled it up. Delino DeShields is batting .355 since being called back up. 22 out of 62 in hits and plate appearances, at bats. That's crazy. .355. Now, that's a small sample size, but I will take it. That dude has been mashing the ball. And, I mean, if there's any Rangers that I've really wanted to cheer for, Gallo's been one of them, but really one of them for sure has been Delino DeShields. I've really wanted him to succeed. And one of the biggest reasons is I love speed. Speed is a game changer in any sport. It's a game changer in hockey. It's a game changer in basketball. It's a game changer in football. And yes, it is a game changer in baseball. Delino DeShields on base messes with pitchers' heads, man. Is he going to steal? Is he not going to steal? Ball goes in the gap. Delino DeShields is on first. He's scoring most of the time. Speed it is something that cannot be taught, and that's why the players who have it, you want them to succeed, because it is awesome when you have those guys on your team that are that fast. It's awesome. All right, we are going to wrap it up today. I hope you guys have enjoyed this solo edition of the Big D podcast again. I really want to hype up the next episode. It's coming out later this week. Hopefully Thursday is when it'll drop. Like I said, I'm super stoked about it. If you are a Mavericks fan and you are on Twitter, and if you don't follow this guy, you are doing yourself a disservice, because it's necessary. It is it's required, really. You are not fully embracing anything Mavericks unless you're following this guy. I'm not going to say who it is, because I don't want to tip anybody, but it's going to be off the chain, man. I'm telling you, it's going to be awesome. So please join the podcast next time out. We're going to be talking Mavericks free agency. We're only going to be a couple days away when we talk about it. It's going to be awesome. We're going to be kids waiting for Christmas morning. I'm super stoked about it. But keep cheering for the Texas Rangers, and let's go try to make it to the playoffs here in 2019. That'll do it for me. I'll catch you guys on the Flippity Flip.